Let's go, though, to Greg Evans, who's the president of National Cybersecurity Ventures and joins us from Atlanta, Georgia. Thanks for coming on the News Hour. First of all, just put it in perspective for us. How bad is this?
This is very bad on a whole bunch of different levels. One, it should never have happened. I keep hearing about, well, somebody made a mistake and it's not a hack, it's not this, but we have to look at it. How many people were involved in making this happen? Was it one person who was sitting at his desk and he forgot to update some software? Are there any checks and balances that could have came in place? In addition to that, looking at this as an ex-hacker, I'm looking at it as how could I manipulate their vulnerability and take down the entire network? So many people use Microsoft 365. I'm not one of those people. I still use Microsoft, but I don't use Microsoft 365 online because I don't want my data out there on the clouds. But you should be concerned that your information are out there. Now, when people say that, well, you know, it's affecting airlines, but that's what we know today. The other thing that we don't know is it just an error? Are we getting the whole truth on what really happened? Also, I called a couple of hotels owners that I know who own major hotels to see if they're down, and they're having issues too. Now, they don't know if it's Microsoft 365. I know that CrowdStrike has a deal with Hilton hotels. So every Hilton hotel is running CrowdStrike as well. So there's so many different outages all around the world right now. So I'm not sure what the problem is, and it's way too early for somebody to sit back and just say, this is the problem. But if I was from the outside looking in, I'm going to look at, like, how can I find those same vulnerabilities so I can exploit them as a cybersecurity expert or a competitor of Microsoft or another country.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't look good for Microsoft, doesn't look good for this cybersecurity company, CrowdStrike. After all, they're supposed to be keeping companies safe. Clearly not what they want is to have potentially a bug of their own making, causing almost a global meltdown, if you like. How bad is this going to be for clients of CrowdStrike, for people's confidence in large companies' abilities to keep us safe and to keep the world moving?
Well, here's the problem. And I've never been a fan of CrowdStrike. They got their popularity and was able to grow so fast when they were part of the DNC hack. And they came in and they had an FBI agent that sat on their board, and it helped build their company up. And from there, they were able to get into the big corporations and build their name and their brand. But I was never a big fan of them, nor Microsoft, because it's like the banks. They get too big to fail. And these cybersecurity companies don't have actual hackers trying to test their systems. They have a lot of IT people, and this is very important. IT people are not hackers. They don't think like hackers. They think logically. Hackers think outside the box. They don't think about what could happen. Like I said, I've heard your experts on here, and they're very intelligent, and they're looking at everything from the IT perspective. The first thing I did when I heard about this is I looked at it from a hacker, a penetration tester perspective. How can I exploit this same thing? Can I take a whole airline down? Can I take hospitals down? How can I do this? And the only thing I'm going to do is 85% of computer hacking is research. So I'm going to research everything that they put out there, see what they said is the problem, and I go from there. Other countries are going to do the exact same thing. If they know they can affect a vulnerability in Microsoft 365 or in a cybersecurity software, and they can take down airlines or disrupt them, and other businesses, why not? This is major, and we should be concerned as consumers as well. You have consumers. Oh, I'm sorry.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I was going to say, so what you're saying, Greg, is that potentially, you know, once they've solved whatever caused today, that might not be the end of it. Because, as you say, there are potentially malicious actors out there looking at this and thinking, goodness, well, I could take advantage. Perhaps this is easy. And just to bring our viewers up to date on what we're showing them on screen, Greg, I'm not sure you can see this, but we're showing huge queues outside New Delhi Airport, clearly an extremely busy airport generally anyway. And here there are lines of people waiting what looks like outside the airport. They haven't even got in because of the disruption that's being caused. My question to you, Greg, is, as you say, this might well not be the end of it. Is this a matter of companies themselves needing to do better? They need to have better quality assurance internally, or do we need better national or global regulation around this to make sure there are fail-safe methods to stop this from happening? What do you think?
Well, there's a couple of things. One, we think that because a company is big, they're better. The bigger the company, the better they are. Microsoft is one of the biggest companies in the world, so they must be good. But something I said back in the 90s when I was hacking into some of the biggest telecom companies in the world, the bigger the company, the easier it was for me to hack into. Because the more employees they have, you're only as good as your employees, your weakest link. So if you can exploit that weakest link, your employee, it was very easy for me to get into those major corporations. And here, when you have a company like Microsoft, or how big and as CrowdStrike has gotten, we have to think about it. The US government and big corporations like it's Microsoft, I can't go wrong. It's CrowdStrike, I can't go wrong. But that's not true. So, and this is what happens. So yes, there should be more regulations, but we have to stop just giving contracts to these big corporations just because they're a big corporation. Because this is what happens. Just like with big banks, we had to bail out some of the biggest banks in the world here in the United States because they got too big to fail. And who were the people who were the victims of it? It was the people who banked it there.
Absolutely.
So it's the same thing here. Correct. And when I'm looking at these people on your screen right now standing in line, and we're saying, well, they're not really affected. These people are not just going on vacation. They have funerals to go to. They have business deals that they have to go fly somewhere else to do, where their livelihood. You have transportation of people's organs. That a heart transplant. They have to go from one country to another. So you never know what's happening right now. When you shut down, when an airlines has to shut down, people just think, oh, I'm just going to grandma's house. No, it doesn't work that way.
All right, Greg, thank you so much for joining us on the NewsHour. That was absolutely fascinating stuff. Really, really appreciate it.